Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a hot minute since I put out a video, and so I thought I would finally release this one. This is footage from a tournament that I played recently. It was called the Bay City Open. It was one round at Cottage Hill in Mobile, Alabama, and then another round at Langham Municipal Park. And I kind of debated whether or not I was even going to put this out because, spoiler alert, this tournament didn't go well. And really, my last two tournaments haven't gone well. Earlier this year, I think I placed second like 3 tournaments in a row and had another tournament that I did pretty well. And things seemed to be trending up. My goal was to get to like 900 rated by the end of the year. And I think I started this year like somewhere near 850 and got all the way up to 885. And so I was really trending in the right direction. And these last couple of tournaments have just really gone bad. One tournament, the tournament I played out in Foley, it was an NADGT event. I didn't even wind up releasing that video just because I actually got ill during the second round. Just, it was extremely hot. I was just incredibly sick. Didn't feel sick until the round started, and come to find out later on, some people I had been around in my family wound up testing positive for COVID the next week. And so I don't know if I had it or not for sure, but I just kind of fell apart. And I shot like really, really bad the second round and placed really, really poorly. And I knew it was because I was ill and, I just wasn't feeling it, but I didn't want to quit. And so I played it out and did really bad. And so I wound up not putting that out just because it wasn't worth it. But this one I decided, I kind of always promise to be genuine and honest with this channel on like how I'm doing and how things are going. And so, this is the honest truth. We're going to start off this video here and we'll talk through it. The first hole I wound up taking a bogey on. Didn't really film it because you couldn't really see much on the hole. It was like a blind shot, dog leg right. So if I would have filmed it, it would have been pretty tough for you to kind of see what was going on. But I wound up taking a bogey on the opening hole of the tournament, which was fine. It was a very difficult par 3. Hole 12 at Cottage Hill, I feel like almost never gets two'd. So getting a 3 on that hole feels a lot like a birdie. And so getting a 4 kind of feels like getting a par, honestly, to me. So the first hole honestly didn't go too bad. But now we're on what should be a pretty routine par 3 here. Very short, just over 200 feet. Dead straight shot pretty much. And yeah, timing was just a little bit off. And this is a theme throughout the day. I was pulling a lot of stuff to the right-hand side of the fairways. It used to be that early release was my biggest issue, like letting go early and being on the left side of the fairway or something like that. But for some reason, this tournament, I was just pulling everything to the right on my backhands, which, yeah, something I'm definitely going to have to address. And so I just kind of pitch out. That's all I really had. And so this is a pretty long putt to try to save par on this hole. I don't know, probably like 50, 60 feet, something like that. Maybe a little more. So I try to give it a chance. Just flew right behind it. Actually just juiced a little bit too much. Here's the very next hole. Another very difficult par 3 that almost no one twos. So honestly, just getting a 3 or a 4 on this hole feels good. And that's just a forehand I let go early. Luckily, it kind of still rolled out in a spot where I could still pitch up the fairway and like still get something out of it. And so this is actually like a pretty good little scramble shot to get me back onto the fairway and give me a look at the pin. Obviously, nowhere nearby to really have a reasonable chance to get a par putt here, but at the very least, I could make sure that I limited the damage on this one. And I think I wind up, well, you'll see. Yeah, I just want to basically just pitching up to get an easy 4. So I started the tournament 3 bogeys in a row, just if you're keeping track at home. So not a great start to the event. Same exact thing that I did on hole 13, just pulled it right, and the disc didn't really stable up. And this got a nasty kick. You can't really see, but I'm basically like right here trying to figure out a way to get back on the fairway. The only option I had was like an overhand. And, I mean, didn't go great. As you can see, I didn't do that great of a job getting back onto the fairway. So this is me throwing 3, just trying to get up and down to save a bogey at this point, I believe. This was actually a great scramble shot, but I just happened to catch like the last tree. I think I wound up still getting that putt though. So just again, bogey, bogey, bogey. Hole 17. I was just happy to be on a fairway at this point. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just being on the fairway after 4 holes in a row of having to scramble. And this was just a tough hyzer putt around the tree. I gave it a good chance. I went up par on that hole. And so just to kind of give you a heads up on like where I'm at right now, I wound up bogeying holes 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I'm already 5 over par for the tournament. Just a really, really cold start. And at this point, I'm just trying to survive, honestly. Just trying to get out of here and hopefully salvage something. Same thing that you saw on every backhand so far. Just pulling it right. I wound up par on that hole, so I'm still, I think, 5 over par for the tournament. This one, I missed my line a little inside. Finally didn't pull something to the right, though, on a backhand, so that was nice. And so this is the birdie putt that I'm left with. Try to see if I can battle the score back a little bit because, yeah, things are obviously not going so well. And so I went up par on that hole. Hole 2, I think I took another bogey, so now I'm 6 over par. This forehand looked perfect, and boom. And I was just getting bad breaks all tournament long, especially on this course. It just seemed like every time it looked like a good throw out of my hand and it looked like I was going to have a chance to, you know, get close to the pin, something would happen and I would just get like a really bad tree kick and just not really get what I was hoping for. Just juice that putt. Very next hole, trying to throw a forehand up the left-hand side of the fairway and have it crash back towards the pin. It's kind of my preferred play on this hole. There's a lane on the left-hand side you can't attack, and I got a good shot. Looked good. Again, horrible break. Catch a tree and roll backwards. And so what should have probably been like a 25-foot putt for birdie, had I missed that, I wound up having like a 50, 60-footer for birdie. Wound up just getting a par on that one. So I'm still 6 over par for the round. Hole 5, a very treacherous par 3. Really probably shouldn't be a par 3, honestly. Missed my line a little bit. I was trying to go to the right-hand side of those trees, went to the left-hand side of them instead. So now I have to try to attack this pin from the back door, but honestly not that bad of a lie. That was me being a little bit confused because I thought it was my turn to throw, and then all of a sudden a disc comes flying in front of me. But all good. Pretty good scramble forehand. And so I actually have a chance to putt for par on this hole. Which, again, getting a 3 on this hole feels like getting a birdie, honestly. So, staying at 6 over. Hole 6, I think I took another bogey. So now I'm, like, 7 over par at this point in the round, probably. Finally threw a good backhand. I almost put that thing in. That little kiss off the tree almost sent it forward and put it in. I wound up birdieing that hole, so that put me, I think, back to like 6 over par for the round or something like that. One of the few birdies I actually got at Cottage Hill, to be honest with you. And again, back to pulling it to the right. That's 3 or 4 times I've done it this round where I've just, something's off on the timing and I'm just pulling my disc to the right. Again, something we'll talk about here in a minute. Have to say I'm pretty proud of this scramble shot, though. Pretty much parked that thing from way out of position to at least save par, so at least not taking any damage. And then here's hole 9, another chance to get a birdie. Just need to throw pretty much a straight backhand up the hill. This one I pulled right again, but I got away with it. Stability kicked in and broke it back over to the pin, so was right here next to it to grab another birdie. So I think this puts me back to 5 over now at this point. This didn't trust the disc enough. I needed it to flex more to have a chance at a birdie putt, really. Still not that bad, but I'm like having to putt between 2 trees, and it was just tricky to try to fit something through. So on a par on that hole, and then this is a birdie putt on the very next hole after my tee shot. This is the final hole of my round at Cottage Hill. Just short, so I want to par on that hole as well. So let's talk a little bit. So I wound up shooting, I think, either 5 over par or 6 over par at Cottage Hill. The hot score, I think, was like 2 or 4 under par. So I was like way behind the leader by like 9 or more strokes. But I think I was only like 3 strokes away from top 3. And I knew that this course that we're about to play, Langham Municipal Park, kind of my home course, that I would have a good chance of shooting pretty well here as long as I could get my head right and just kind of let that first round go, which I thought I did a pretty good job of. I felt like I was actually winning the mental game at Cottage Hill. Like, even though things were going bad, I was able to, like, you know, maybe get a little upset after it would happen, but I would be able to shake it off before I set that to the next tee pad and just kind of focus up. You know, my bad tee shots were not, you know, me being, like, mad and, like, frustrated and therefore not paying attention or not being in the right mindset. It was a timing issue where I was just pulling just to the right, and it was a constant thing that happened, you know, throughout that entire round. The other thing that was happening that entire round was it was super hot and humid, and this was the first time in a tournament I experienced, like, my putters feeling sticky when I was trying to putt. I've never had that happen before. And I tried a bunch of different, like, grip things, you know, like a whale sack or like a chalk bag, different things like that try to, like, fix it, and it just wouldn't work. No matter what I did, I could not get a good grip on my putters. And 2 very valuable lessons were learned then, that A, I need to kind of change up my putting grip, because the way that I putt during this tournament was I really only had, like, the tip of my fingertips on the disc. Like, I was didn't really have that much contact with the disc when I would putt. I've always been that way, and I've always been able to get away with it because I've never had any grip issues with my putter. And the second thing I learned was probably need to get a putter with a little bit different plastic that in hot, humid conditions doesn't feel as, like, sticky and gummy as the putters I normally use that are fine in, like, normal weather conditions or cold weather conditions. So that was 2 very big, valuable lessons learned I just want to kind of tell you about, because it was something that plagued me all day long, where I just couldn't feel comfortable on the putting green. You know, putting is always tough in tournaments because of the mental game side of it. But I felt like a lot of my putts in this tournament weren't, you know, a mental issue as much as they were like a physical problem that was happening where I couldn't get grip on my putters and I couldn't get, like, a clean release. And then obviously that does start to impact your mental game, because you start to lose confidence that you can make the putt because you feel like you can't get a clean release. You feel like you can't get a good grip on your disc. So it's like all of a sudden it does spiral into, like, a mental issue on top of a physical problem. And so I was dealing with that all day long. Since then, by the way, I've already kind of changed up my grip a little bit on the putter to have more contact with the disc, to have a more firm, like, grasp of it, which I've been kind of working on in the backyard, like just practicing putting with this new grip, and it seems to be going pretty well, but I won't know for sure how it pans out until I actually play another tournament at some point. And then, yeah, I did get, like, another putter. The problem is I putt with Fierces, and it only really comes in one plastic. So I wound up getting, like, a couple of Deputies, which are very similar to Fierces, and, like, a more stiff plastic. And I've been kind of cycling those in just in case I get in hot, humid conditions again, because in theory those shouldn't have as much risk of getting, like, too gummy or sticky in hotter conditions. I don't know. It's an experiment. We'll see what happens, but just wanted to throw that out there as well as we get started. My second round. So this is hole 12 in the long pin position, so it's a par 4. Threw this one a bit nose up. So didn't get as far as I wanted up the fairway, but I wanted to be on this left side of the fairway to set up this forehand approach. But I just wanted to be, like, you know, probably 30 feet further forward to make the forehand a little easier. But not a big deal. Threw a pretty good forehand here, maybe swung it a little wider than I wanted to, and I just didn't get as much ground action as I wanted. It kind of just stayed still and bounced forward. So this is my first putt of the second round, probably like, what, 20, maybe 25 feet. That's just what I'm talking. Then again, this is where, like, all of a sudden it starts to set in that, yeah, I just can't get good grip on my putter. I didn't notice it as much at Cottage Hill because we were in the woods, but at this course out in the open in the sun, it was bad. Luckily, I pretty much parked this one, so I'm able to go 1 under par pretty early on. And we're at hole 14. That wasn't really even a pull right. That was just the understability of the disc. I should have put that on a little more hyzer. The thing is, on this hole, I always err to the right-hand side because that road left is OB, and it's very easy if you get the nose up or you're just a little off on the angle that you could fade out into the road and be OB. So kind of, I wouldn't say intentional, like, roll over to the right, but it's the better miss. And so I wind up par on this hole, so I think I'm 1 under so far for the round. And here's another situation where I just got like a really bad break. As soon as I let go of this disc, a huge headwind rolls up the fairway and just turned my disc over big time. And people on my car were even saying, yeah, man, you got unlucky. The wind just kind of started blowing right as soon as you were throwing. Never been on this spot before on this hole. But I thought I scrambled pretty well, all things considered. But now I have like probably a 35 or 40 footer for par here and got some metal, but again, I could not get a good grasp of things with my putter. This one I just didn't put out to the left enough. And so while I got plenty of distance, I'm way off to the right-hand side. Once again, this is another situation where I thought it was my turn to putt, and then someone else wants to throw in a putt. So kind of messed me up a little bit. And again, that's just one of those things where I can't get grip on my putters. So I felt like if I wasn't within 15 feet of the pin, I wasn't going to get it. And so I went up par on that hole. I think I'm even par now because I bogeyed 15. Then I put myself in the perfect spot off the tee. But I just did not flex this forehand enough. And so I'm kind of a decent distance away, and I also have kind of like a little tricky angle here. And yeah, again, just wasn't feeling it on the putting green. Tee shot on 18. Faded a little too much on me. I was trying to get just past that tree, then maybe skip to the right a little bit. Wound up giving me bad, like, kind of footing, and I'm, like, on a bunch of roots, and I'm at a distance where fairway driver forehand probably puts me too deep of the island, but, like, mid-range forehand probably doesn't get me there. And this one I was pretty upset about. I just put this image in here. My disc landed right here next to this, like, little pink purple flower thing, and it was solid land. Usually the water plays as OB over here, but if it's on land, if it's not surrounded by water, it's usually, you know, inbounds. It's usually how it's played. I didn't realize that there was actually a line put out because it wasn't there the day before, and I couldn't see this line from where I was, so I didn't even realize that there was like an OB line to worry about. Also because the OB sheet said something about an OB line to the left. Because if we go back a little bit, like OB line left would be like right here, this ditch to the left. I didn't realize it went all the way to the front of the green by this bridge when they said OB left on the OB sheet. And again, I couldn't see the OB line from where I was standing. So when I threw this shot, I honestly thought it was going to be fine. Like, I pushed it a little too forward. I was trying to lay up before the bridge and just play for, you know, a long par putt. But yeah, I wound up being out of bounds. Just, like, super unlucky. So I have to take it back. I was a little frustrated with this one. This one definitely kind of ticked me off a little bit just because I felt like it wasn't clearly written in the OB sheet where the line would end. And usually if you're on solid land, you're inbounds on that hole. So I'm taking a double bogey on that hole because of that. So now I went from even, I think, to 2 over par off that hole. And now we're on hole 1. These are the holes you really need to score on in this course, so that's what I'm hoping to do to kind of salvage things. And I wound up birdie in this hole, so I think this puts me back to like 1 over par on this round, but I think I'm like 7 over par overall for the tournament. But at this point, I'm actually tied for like 4th or something like that. So I'm thinking if I keep pushing, I can make something happen. This one I just put a little bit too much angle on, so I didn't push it forward as much as I wanted to. But I still have like a 20 to 25 footer for birdie here. Just high. Dead center, but just high. And again, just struggles with the putting. And this one, another issue where a strong headwind just pops up as soon as I let go of the disc that I couldn't feel until it rolled that disc way over. And as you can see, I didn't get to advance very far. This is the mark that my card gave me. Trying to still at least save bogey. Thought I went deep with the pin OB, but I wound up being safe, and I actually do save the bogey there. And as you can see, the rain starts coming. So now we're starting to play in the rain here. This ditch just didn't fade as much as I thought it would. Gets caught up in the bushes. I want to pitch it up for par on this one. Then this is like full on, it's pouring. And I tried to like just fight through it anyway and play my normal play on this hole, which is the forehand. But wet conditions, I feel like, make forehands way harder than backhands. I don't know. That's just my experience, but I tried to do it anyway because that's my normal play. And as you can see ya later. Worth noting, you see where I landed? I'm about 150 feet from the pin. I threw it in from there. Didn't get to record it because it was raining so bad. But I wound up throwing that in for birdie. Just so you know, which is kind of wild. So I think now I'm probably still like around 1 over par for the round or something like that because I took a bogey on hole A, which is hole 3 for the tournament. I'm soaking wet. Everyone is. Actually threw a pretty decent shot. Just didn't get as forward as I wanted on this hole. I think I have like maybe a 25 to 30 footer here for birdie. Wind's picking up more. Again, still raining pretty steady at this point. And yeah, dude, just the putting was not there with the grip issues I was having. So now I'm going to take a break here because we actually had lightning come in really bad after that hole. Like literally as we were putting out, lightning started getting like really bad where we were. So the TD did the right thing, called a stop and play. And so we actually went to like the pavilion at the park and we were all just hanging out there. And I think the rain delay lasted, I couldn't tell you for sure because I wasn't really keeping track, but it felt like it lasted an hour to an hour and a half where we were. And I've never experienced that before in a tournament where I've had to just stop playing for that long due to like weather problems. So yeah, we actually had like an hour and a half delay at this point. And we come back. And on the hole before this one, I wound up taking, I think, a single or a double bogey just because I just had a really bad tee shot. Didn't scramble very well. And so now my round's just kind of going downhill at this point. I went from being tied for 4th to, like, I think now I'm, like, tied for 6th or something like that. But there's still a chance I could maybe make top 3, top 4. Pretty decent shot here. A little short, but still have, like, a 20-foot putt here. As you can see, like my fingers are fidgeting. I'm trying to get some grip on this putter, and I just can't. And nothing's coming out clean. Was trying to like do like kind of a turnover shot with that, but just didn't get enough anhyzer on it, and so it winds up just flying straight and then fizzling out. Pretty decent drop. If I would have given this some more height, I might have been able to actually get up like near the circle. But as it stood, I did not do that. And so this is like a really long putt for birdie from probably outside circle 2, honestly. And just kind of laid it up. I wound up taking a par on that hole. And so that pretty much wraps up the round. I wound up placing tied for 7th. I wound up shooting like 4 over par at Municipal. So overall, I shot, I think, around 10 over par or 11 over par for the tournament. So I shot like 6 or 7 at Cottage Hill over. It kind of stumped because at one point I was actually like 1 under par at Municipal Park, and I was actually like tied for 3rd, and I thought that I would still actually get like a podium finish and still do like pretty decent. But it just didn't come together. Again, one issue that I certainly had throughout this tournament that I need to address is my backhand. My backhand off the tee has been kind of stuck in the same place for a long time now, to be honest with you. If I'm really feeling it and things are going great, I can throw close to 350 feet and like be fairly accurate. But if I'm just slightly off, all of a sudden I'm only throwing like maybe 315, 325, and I'm off the line. You know, and so there's just no consistency there with my backhand off the tee right now. My timing is off. I open my hips up too early. You know, I'm just not getting my lower body really involved in the throw. I'm not consistent on like my release timing. Like my backhand has just been bad. And I feel like I've basically just been running my head up against the wall lately, just basically doing the same thing over and over again and expecting magically for things to get better. And it's not for a lack of effort or like practice, because I certainly do, practice pretty regularly, and I do go do field work probably a couple times a week. I throw in my net in the backyard. Like, I do put in the time, but I'm not doing the right things in that time. Like, I feel like I'm just basically throwing the same way I have been for a long time and just hoping that something is magically going to click at some point and things are going to get better. Like, I'm going to have that epiphany or that aha moment where things fall into place and I start getting things done. But the reality is that's not happening. And so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm not going to play tournaments for a while. I pulled out of the Meltdown tournament I was going to play in here very soon. And I'm just going to focus on my backhand form. I'm going to commit to not just going out in the field and throwing disc the same way I always have been and thinking something's going to happen. I'm going to actually get my phone out, get my camera on, and film myself throwing in my net in the backyard and just try to get my form as good as I can. Obviously I might need some help at some point, actually get like a lesson or something like that. I don't know. I think my other big issue with my backhand form is that I feel like I've consumed so much content about how to throw a backhand, whether it be from various different YouTubers and tutorials and advice I've gotten from local friends of mine. And it becomes hard to figure out like what to listen to, like what's accurate and what works and what doesn't when I've heard so much information. It just becomes like hard to kind of navigate through all the knowledge I've acquired through tutorial videos and word of mouth and figure out like what I'm actually supposed to be doing. So I'm really going to try to focus up on just filming myself throwing and just try to figure out my timing, try to figure out how to keep my hips closed until I need them to open for the throw instead of opening them so early. And, I think most of my issues are lower body related, but there's definitely some upper body stuff I can also fine tune, I think. So I'm really going to work on that and just kind of take a break from playing tournaments and probably won't even play as many rounds in general. Like I used to play like maybe 3 or 4 rounds a week. And I'm probably going to narrow that down to maybe just only playing like 1 round a week, if that, and just really focus on form work, at least for a little bit. At least for like the next few weeks or something, that at least try to make some progress. And I might try to film some of that and share that journey with you, but we'll see what happens. And then the second thing is like fixing my putting. Part of it is just changing how I grip my putter to make sure I have more contact with the disc so that there's less chance of having grip issues if I have more contact with the disc than what I had before. And then also it's just about changing up the putter I use in certain weather conditions. Try to use a stiffer plastic to try to avoid that sticky finger feeling if I'm in hot, humid conditions, and just see if that helps. I won't know that for sure until I play another tournament. And that's going to be kind of a ways away probably. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully the change in my putting grip and the change in putter plastic will help me get some cleaner releases and so on and so forth. So that's the 2 things I'm really going to focus on after this tournament. Try to turn it into a learning opportunity. Hey, I need to fix my backhand. And hey, I need to tweak my putting to some degree to try to have more consistency with my release and stuff like that instead of having these wobbly, just crappy putts. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I know it's been kind of longer, but I did want to talk through some issues I've been having, and I know it's been a while since I put something out, but I wanted to give you something and kind of just be honest with you on what's going on, not hide from the flaws and the bad times, but, be transparent and just hope that I can work through some things here soon. So yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in. Catch you next time.